everyone. Welcome to Sober Vibes. I'm your host, Courtney Anderson. I'm a sober coach, author, and your go-to guide with living life without alcohol. I've been alcohol-free since 2012, and by far it's the best decision I've ever made in my life. Now I get to help other women live life without alcohol and thrive in sobriety. Here you're going to find quick sober tips, real talk, and encouragement to build confidence, handle cravings, and really actually enjoy your alcohol-free life. If you're sober curious, ready to go all in, hit subscribe and let's vibe sober together. Hey, welcome back to an episode of the Sober Vibes podcast. This is episode 247, and I have a great guest on today, Heather Lowe. She is a recovery coach, a business coach, a speaker, a podcast host, founder of Ditch the Drink. Welcome, welcome. I'm glad to have this conversation with you today.
Me too, Courtney. It's like finally, I feel like we've known each other forever, and
Yes.
we haven't done a podcast yet. But we've been gearing up for this for a long time.
We have. All right, Heather, in your own words, explain, besides what I've just explained, but explain who you are, explain your backstory on how you got sober as well.
Okay, let's see if I can wrap this up quickly. I'm a party girl from Wisconsin, born and raised with a beer bottle in my hand, basically. My dad was a bartender. My parents met in a beer tent. So I followed suit. It was just par for the course. I met my husband in a bar in college. I got a degree in social work. I continued to drink. We moved to Chicago, from Wisconsin to Chicago together, and I had my babies. I didn't drink during pregnancy, but I had two girls, and I switched from beer to wine on maternity leave, feeling really European, to have a little bit of bubbly in the afternoon. When my youngest went to kindergarten, I took a big job downtown. I had been working part-time, and my husband had been traveling a lot, and I was a little bit bored, a little bit lonely. We all know the dinner time, bath time, bedtime routine with little ones home alone. I was missing my party girl lifestyle. So also working part-time and part-time from home, I had been slowly moving up in my career, but I had big dreams of what I wanted to do, and I kind of put that on hold when my littles were babies. And so when my youngest went to kindergarten, I took a big job downtown, full-time, long hours, a team of people reporting to me in sales. I had switched from social work to HR and then sales in my career. And my dad died during the interview process. And I thought by not taking that job, I would be using that as an excuse. So I took the job. My first week on the job, I broke my leg by slipping and falling on the ice in wintertime in Chicago. This job had no remote options or flexibility. So I was hobbling with a broken leg and a broken heart that my dad had just died to this new job, which kind of like tipped off a comedy of more errors. I had two other friends that were my age that passed away without warning and out of order. And I ended up doing 3 eulogies in 3 years for my friends and my dad. And I wanted to perform. I wanted to do a really good job performing, and I did. And when the services were over, I told myself to get over it. And so my drinking sort of changed at that point to self-medication for my grief. I was putting the kids to bed and saying goodnight to my husband and staying up on the couch and drinking alone. And over time, this escalated. My tolerance grew, all the things we know about alcohol, till at the end, I really didn't recognize myself in the mirror anymore. I quit that job and got another. I quit that job and got another. I quit that job and got another. So I wasn't feeling aligned at work. I was feeling really disconnected in my marriage. I wasn't showing up as the kind of parent I want to be. I was so bloated, I didn't recognize myself in the mirror. Depression, anxiety, grief, all this stuff. So in a panic, I called my EAP program and asked for a therapist with substance use training. And I went in and I told her I thought I was drinking too much. And she told me, no, I wasn't. I didn't have a drinking problem. I had an anxiety problem, and I could just take these meds. And I think she was thinking about a harm reduction model, because if I didn't want my kids to see me, she suggested that I drink where they couldn't see me, which was in a bonus room that I have off my primary bedroom, which is a closet. It's a bonus room above the garage, which is my closet. So she suggested that I drink my wine in the closet, don't let the kids see, take these meds, everything will be fine. I was delighted. I called everybody I knew and said, no worries. The professional told me no drinking problem, just anxiety. I'll take these meds and everything will be fine. Well, what happened was the meds and the drinking definitely did not mix, right? And I became a walking blackout on a few occasions. And so, including in front of my friends and my family.
Mhm.
And so that was embarrassing. And I couldn't predict now how much I would drink and what the effect would be, like I kind of could before I was on the meds.
Mhm.
And so I started a series of sober experiments, taking breaks from alcohol.
Mhm.
I did a 100-day challenge. I made it to 70 days. I was cured. So I thought, so I went back to drinking. And I continued to do these with the goal of keeping alcohol in my life, of course, of having
Mhm.
just alcohol stay in my life, but not be such a problem for me. After 3 years of doing that, I was still miserable. But I had to admit, when my head hit the pillow sober at night, I felt much better. And
Yeah.
I was starting
Yeah.
to develop this relationship with myself when I wasn't drinking. And so on February 20th of 2018, I set the drink down for good. It's kind of ironic. I was out to dinner with my husband and I did something I'd never done before. I left my glass of wine on the table half full. And I feel like that's a huge metaphor for my life, that I left my life half full. So I'm sure there was danger lurking around the corner for me that I will never know, a diagnosis, a tragedy, a
Mhm.
fall down the stairs,
Mhm.
something. I never got there. I don't know. I'm sure it was coming, but I did quit drinking. And day by day, I learned how to cope with my grief and I learned how to manage my anxiety. I got off those meds, I got off alcohol, and I created this holistic healing life for myself. And when I was 1 year sober, I was like, I have to tell the others. I have to tell the other women there's other ways to do this. Because for me at the time, I thought the options were rehab or AA, and
Yeah.
I was terrified of both of them. Knowing what I know now, I think those would have been great options for me. But at the
Yes.
time, it scared me, and I didn't want to do it, and I was afraid of the stigma, the shame, all this, the labels. I was afraid of all of it. So I created this other way. Also, my last day one, I was willing to throw the kitchen sink at it. I was like, I'll go to AA, I'll go to rehab, I'll do whatever I have to do. And
Mhm.
it turns out I didn't utilize those resources, but I did create this plan in place. So then I got certified as a life and recovery coach
Mhm.
and started to coach others. Also, because I was in between jobs, I started Ditch the Drink and I started with a digital course before I was certified to say, and I said to my husband, I think I got to do this. And he said, like, can you make this much money at that? Meaning nothing. And I was like, I don't know because I've never done it.
Right.
And
Right.
my mom was the first one to sign up for my first course. So I had
Oh.
one student. Yeah.
Mhm.
And the rest is history. From there, I've grown. I've gotten certified. I've gotten multiple awards, more certifications. Now I have a community. I do one on one coaching. I coach other coaches. I have a business course. I have a podcast. I write, speak, do events, all that. I have
Yeah.
Ask a Coach column in Alcohol Free Magazine and all that good stuff. So,
Yeah, that was
um,
exciting. I saw that when you posted that on social media. That's exciting. That's
oh
fun.
my God. I always wanted to be a columnist like Carrie Bradshaw, right?
Yes.
So it felt like
Yes.
another one of my little dreams come true for sure.
Isn't it crazy? Well, congratulations to you on your sobriety and what you have created and done for others. But this is like, it's so bananas how this is such, it's so common for therapists to not listen to women telling them like, I think I got a drinking issue. And then it's
Right.
like, no, no, you don't, because it's like, I have heard many, 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 many women say, "Yeah, I told my therapist this," and they just kind of swept it aside and said, "No, I'm not a person with the drinking issue."
It is absolutely bananas. And it's crazy. Whenever I share that story, a million hands raise and say, me too.
Right.
Same, same, same.
Right,
Yes.
right. It was funny because yesterday on social media, I came across like a parenting page and it was talking about cannabis and how there's like, you should not smoke or use cannabis during pregnancy, blah, blah, blah. And so I put under there and I was like, oh, I wish they had more warnings about this with alcohol. And then this chick was like, girl, what do you mean? Alcohol fetal syndrome. And I was like, don't you dare go there because women are told that it is okay to continue to drink small amounts. And I said, and then afterwards, women are told to drink beer to up their breast milk supply.
For sure. I was going to say, yeah, alcohol on maternity leave was good for me and my baby. That's what I
Yeah,
thought. That's what I
yeah,
was told. But
right.
also, I love that. I love those studies that said alcohol was good for me in whatever way because or good for my family because I wanted it to be, right?
Hmm.
Like
Hmm.
I wanted to believe that even though my own inner knowing knew. I mean, I always knew. In fact, I've been like a journaler my whole life.
Hmm.
And my 21st birthday was my golden birthday, beginning of spring break. And I wrote in my journal that I was 21 years old and I was afraid that I was an alcoholic.
Yeah.
And I quit drinking 21 years later when I was 42. So
Yeah.
also we questioned this for a long time and our own
Yep.
inner knowing is telling us it's a problem, but we love to ignore it, avoid it, deny it. And when a professional therapist tells us to do that or a study from XYZ tells us that, we want to latch onto that, right?
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And that is a thing too, like going back on what we were talking about, like with the mom thing. But yeah, at 25, I woke up from a major hangover and I was like, there's gonna be a day I quit drinking. I just don't know when. I do believe I am such a firm believer that anybody with any type of issue, insert your drug of choice, whatever it does, everybody knows. And it's whether you act upon it or don't. And that's what it comes down to, right? Like if you're really good and tired or if you just want to keep going and seeing how far you can take it. But going back to the mom thing, like what do you think like for you, okay? Because I am very fortunate that I did not enter in my motherhood journey with drinking. But for you, when you were a mom, like what are those messages that you kept receiving or saw about the mommy wine culture?
Yeah, it was just so normalized, right? That you could have a drink in the shower and a drink at play dates
Hmm.
and a drink to take the edge off and parenting is hard and I wine, mommy wines, I wine. The whole thing. Everywhere I looked were messages that affirmed I was okay
Hmm.
and that I was doing the normal thing that everybody was doing. And from where I grew up, like I said, I mean, alcohol can have a
Yeah.
reputation or be very ever present anywhere.
Yes.
Wisconsin is a very much a drinking culture.
Yeah.
We've named our baseball league after beer. Okay, like
Yes.
it's very so it's like it was just normal. I never considered not drinking.
Yes.
I didn't know anybody sober, and if they were, it was shame on them. Their hand was slapped and they had to sit with their back to the party. So I
Yes.
didn't because they were wrong and something was wrong with them. Never because alcohol is an addictive substance that we
Mm.
should be aware of and have informed consent about, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
like,
Yeah, the Midwest is wild with the drinking culture in it because that's the same thing
yeah.
for Michigan. It's like what, dude, what is it? It's Illinois, like Wisconsin, Milwaukee, Minnesota. Like it's very heavy.
It's just normal. And I was like
Mhm.
popular and I was fun and I liked friends and I liked to dance and I liked music and I liked to go out. And I was so extroverted that alcohol was just the way to do that.
Yeah.
And I was drinking in barns and fields and it wasn't questioned by anyone anywhere. And
Mhm.
also, everybody around me was drinking. And I'm not going to
Mhm.
blame like my parents or anything like that, but everybody was drinking everywhere I looked, even grandparents before and after church, right? Like it was just par for the course. So it was very
Mhm.
normalized. So to continue those messages as a mom, and this was the height of mommy wine culture,
Yeah.
that affirmed what I was doing and it made me feel not so bad about it. And like, if everybody's doing it, it's okay. Even though, like I said, I always knew I liked alcohol a little more than most. I wanted it more than most. I never wanted to stay home. I never wanted to go home after a party.
Mhm.
My husband was laughing with my daughter because there was one New Year's Eve, it was 5 a.m. and I was mad at him because I was not ready to go home yet. It's
Oh, yeah.
like, I am
Pissed.
never done, okay?
Right. Pissed. Yeah. I
Yeah.
get that. I feel that. I mean, and that's
Yeah.
very common. And I think that that's probably something too. I don't, looking back where it was like every other people could shut it off, but you couldn't.
Yeah.
I couldn't. And that was
No.
the thing. And like, even too, if I would get home from a night out or like if we went to dinner and had a couple drinks, I would get pissed. I wasn't drunk enough.
Totally. That nightcaps at home and try to make it real casual, right? Like I'm literally
Right.
never done. If I'm passed out, okay, I made it.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
otherwise I'm not done. But the thing is, I think with that is that it because because of the way that we grew up in the Midwest and because of the way alcohol had been looked at for a really long time, alcohol was not the problem. You are the problem. And who among us wants to say we're a problem?
Right.
Nobody does. So
Right.
it was self-protection to keep drinking and to ignore what was happening to me, to ignore my inner knowing. Because if I said, yeah, actually, I think this is a problem for me, then it says something's very wrong with you. Why
Mm-hmm.
can't you hang with the rest of them? Why can't you be normal? Why can't you drink like everybody drinks? Alcohol is a innocent substance and there's something wrong with you that you can't manage it.
Yeah.
And that's not true. We know that's not true now. But at the time, if I was to admit to my fear about my relationship with alcohol, I would have to say something's wrong with me. So it was self preservation and self protection to
Mm-hmm.
just say, I'm normal, it's fine. All moms drink in the shower. All moms have a nightcap when they go home. Everybody needs wine at play dates. It's not just me, right?
Mm-hmm.
No big deal. Pour a little wine when you're making dinner with
Mm-hmm.
the kids. That's so normal. Somebody does that in the movies, so I'm
Mm-hmm.
just a normal mom.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Was there any time during that time where you're like, you woke up the next day and you're like, I pushed it too far? Did you have any of those during those motherhood days?
Oh my God. So looking back, I can't believe I lived this way,
Mm-hmm.
but dragging myself through the day was
Mm-hmm.
normal.
Yeah.
That's what was normal. I didn't know anything different. Waking up with a headache, basically punching myself in the face as soon as I woke up to say, I hate you. You're wrong. You did it again. Why can't you quit? What's wrong with you?
Yeah.
You're terrible. That's how I started my day, telling myself how much I hated myself. And then slapping a smile on my face. I was drinking too much, but I was also the first one awake every morning, covering my tracks, cleaning up the wine bottles, making lunches,
Mm-hmm.
sweeping the floor. I actually swept the floor with my broken leg. Before I knew it was broken, I was sweeping the floor and was like, actually, this hurts. I think I should go to the emergency room. I don't want to bother anybody. I don't want to make a
Mm-hmm.
fuss. Well, it turns
Mm-hmm.
out I had a broken leg and I was sweeping my kitchen floor, right? So
Yeah.
just covering my tracks and trying to be the best I could for my kids that day, trying
Right.
to hide, I was very dishonest with myself and I was just trying to hide the effects. Again,
Mm-hmm.
telling myself to get over it. I think get over it was my mantra for grief, for life, for hangovers. Just don't feel a thing, don't pay attention, and don't be honest with yourself. And then go to work. And I was moving up at work. I was checking the boxes from the outside. It looked okay. I was doing the things that I was supposed to be doing and it looked good.
Mm-hmm.
And my inner knowing, my insides, I was killing myself and I knew it. I could feel it. And it was getting darker and darker. It was escalating at the end, but I couldn't admit that I had a problem. I really didn't want to do that because I'm a perfectionist and I didn't want anything to be wrong with me. I've been trying to be perfect my whole life. So I really didn't want anything to be wrong with me. And I thought, well, if I don't acknowledge it, then it's not there.
Yeah.
And
Were you the good girl growing up? As in good girl as like you didn't make. Do you have siblings?
it's a long, I'm an only child and I have
Okay.
siblings everywhere. So
Okay.
both my
Okay.
parents are my parents divorced when I was very young and they both remarried. But I'm the
Gotcha.
only between my mom and my dad. And for my first 6 years of life, I was only. So I kind of identify with that, even though I have
Yeah.
all these people. But
Yeah.
yeah, I was perfect and I was good.
Yeah.
I was also a party girl and everything
Hmm.
like that, but I was a very good girl. And in fact, I was the one you didn't have to worry about. And that was
Yes.
intentional because if
Yes.
I was okay, that would prove that my parents were okay. It was
Yes.
the first divorce in the family. So I felt a lot of pressure to be well mannered, good grades. My dad would pass my report card around, and that's how I got positive attention, right? And he wasn't always around. So that was a way to get his attention.
Yes.
And if I was a polite, good girl, and I was doing well, then it would prove that my parents were okay and my whole system was okay. So
Yeah.
I took
Yeah.
that on for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what I mean. I was the good girl too, because and that's a thing that is an early on. I don't want to say it's a I mean, it becomes a conditioning, but it's almost like you put that on in yourself, especially to what year did your parents get a divorce?
So I was only 3 years old, but the funny thing is, my mom has my kindergarten screening assessment sheet.
Yeah.
I can't believe she has that. So now I have this, and it says in there all my work, everything I said to this person assessing me for
Hmm.
kindergarten readiness, let's say.
Hmm.
And I am so mad that the crayons they've given me are brown and broken because I cannot do my best work. I cannot stand any sharp crayons, any
Yeah.
prettier colors. I can't do my best work. And it was like, I was 4 years old and like, look at that perfectionism shining through.
Hmm.
Like,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
already things were not perfect enough for me. And
Right.
I could not do my most perfect job. I mean, spoiler alert, I got into kindergarten. Okay.
Yes, yes, right, right. Well, yeah, but that is the thing. And then sometimes you wonder too, is like, is that more of like a female thing where that is of girls tend to go more to that side of perfectionism and then not really because when it goes down to it of being the good girl too, it's like a part of you doesn't want to be seen. Like, but and then in that drinking and that active addiction with alcohol, it is then the party girl persona, because I relate to this so much, it's like that's where I could be seen, and that's where I thought I held value to others, to men, to friends, right? Like, so it's that whole idea. It's very, very it's sad, but it's interesting because it is. It's like you do, it's almost like you're screaming out for the attention to be seen.
Yeah, super common. And to add to that, I was class clown.
Mm.
So I love attention. I
Mhm.
want attention. Give me attention. I'm literally begging for attention.
Mhm.
Everywhere I go, I'm begging to be noticed, to be seen. And alcohol and boys, that's all I was doing was
Mhm.
being with my friends and chasing boys. That alcohol totally helped with those awkward new
Yep.
relationships when you're
Yeah.
growing up. I didn't have the I'm a a recovering people
Mhm.
pleaser as well. So how dare I tell a guy if I don't like something? I wasn't
Yeah.
able to do that. So alcohol just like shut me up and let me go along with a lot of things that wouldn't have been right. But again, I don't want to make a fuss. I don't want to be a problem. I don't want to bother anybody. I don't, and I'm still working on that. It's
Yeah.
embarrassing. I'm almost 50 years old, but I'm like, if I have to tell somebody no, I do it now, but then it take
But you're
my nerves.
sweating.
Yeah, my nerve it's not like that felt good. I'm not like
Right.
jumping for joy, like, wow, I set a boundary. That felt so good. I
Yeah.
like set the boundary and then I go in the fetal position and cry because I know it's going to make somebody not like me.
Yeah. No, I mean that takes a lot of years to get through like that people pleasing, codependency. I think two of the perfectionism. I really those are things that I do truly believe that you constantly have to work on throughout the years because situations will always arise where you're met with something and it's like codependent no more. I've read like 5 times because
Oh
it's
my God.
come up in my
Yeah.
life where I'm
I would say
like, okay,
over functioning too.
yeah,
Over functioning. And it goes right along with that.
yeah,
And alcohol fueled my over functioning. Like I said, like I maybe was drunk as a skunk stumbling upstairs the night before, but I was sure as hell getting up and making lunches and
yeah.
cleaning the kitchen and also doing everything for everybody. So that's the other thing. When I quit drinking, my family dynamics had to change.
Mhm.
And it was a little bit clumsy at first because it was new
Yes.
for all of us, right? And I
Yeah.
love my family and they're my best support, but none of us knew what we were doing. And it was a little clunky and we've worked it out, but everybody had to change in the whole system. And it's been beautiful, but it wasn't without some like just some clumsiness in between. And that's where a coach can help so much, right?
Yes.
When all
Yes.
those things are changing, that you have somebody to talk that through with.
Yeah, especially the overfunctioning with a lot of my clients. I'm like, we're just going to chill this week. We're not doing much
Yeah.
because the overfunctioning leads to burnout and you can't when you get sober, you can't keep doing the same things that you were doing in your active drinking days because it doesn't work. It doesn't match who you are and there's the reason you got through so much on the weekends if you overbooked yourself, it's because you were most likely drinking through them. So now in a sober state, it's like, this is a lot.
Right, and your health matters and your pleasure matters, right?
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
it's a reprioritizing the whole pattern. You're totally
Yes.
right. And everybody needs some support in doing that and looking at that also, having like a jar not reading it. So somebody to say to you, this is what it looks like from the
Yes.
outside, or this is what I'm hearing you say. And they're like, oh my God. Yeah, like I have to
Right.
cover for everybody in my life. No, you don't.
Yeah.
You
So
take care of
in from your point of view, because we got to talk about this too, because Heather and I on the interwebs, I think we have a laugh. I mean, nowadays it's just like, dude, enough.
Yeah.
I don't know if you get it so much. I used to get it in the beginning and then it stopped. And then of late in the last couple months, I've gotten it again. But the hate of people for sober coaches, of
Oh,
thinking that sober coaches are con artists. Scammers,
yes.
how dare you charge for
Mm,
sobriety?
mm.
So, what is your hot take on that?
Where do I begin? Yes. So I can't stand it. First of all, I can't stand things that say like sobriety should be free, recovery should be free, or whatever. Yeah, go for it. Also, if you were struggling with any issue,
Mhm.
you would go to an expert resource to help you.
Yeah.
And so I think addiction and sobriety, I mean, for me, it was the number one domino to improve my entire life,
Mhm.
my health, my relationships, my finances, like my career, my parenting, like my spiritual life, literally every single thing that matters to me. So if you could sell the results of sobriety in a pill, you would pay $10,000 in a second for that
Mhm.
pill if it was going to fix all those things, if it
Yeah.
was guaranteed to fix all those things, right? Like, and how much money that $10,000 would save you in the long run
Yes.
from drinks and Ubers and health problems and hospitalizations and all the things, right?
Yeah.
So I think that message is just too bad. Like we would invest in ourselves. And if you were going to a doctor, you would want a doctor that was trained, right,
Mhm.
in what they were doing. If your house was burning down, you would want a fireman who knew how to fight fires,
Mhm.
not a child who was pretending to be a firefighter,
Mhm.
right? Like, so how would this be different? Like, this mental health and physical health is involved. Why wouldn't you go to somebody that has a system of walking you through change and has results? I don't think there's anything wrong with paying for that. I think it's the best investment you can make on yourself.
Mhm.
However, coaching being an unregulated industry, it gets a bad name, right?
Mhm.
Because not everybody is trained and certified. And technically, anyone can call themselves a coach with zero credentials and zero
Mhm.
qualifications. And people do. So there's people that do a lot of good, probably without training and credentials. And there's also people that do harm. And that's the same for the people with training and credentials. But I will say the people with training and credentials have some education, they follow some ethics and standards. So, and hopefully it's been accredited by an outside source. Like, for instance, I was accredited by the International Association of Professional Recovery Coaches, which is accredited by the International Coach Foundation and the National Board of Health and Wellness. So
Yeah.
it's not like Ditch the Drink coaching, it's the best coaching because Ditch the Drink says so. Like there's an outside source coming in. So I think because of that, there are people that are doing harm, but there's also most anybody that's in my circle, most of the people that I know, you and I included, are doing a lot of good and seeing results, and women's lives are changing for the better.
Yeah.
That is
Yeah.
priceless. They're not an unlived life anymore. There's nothing more important than that. And we're not out to scam anybody. Are you kidding me? We're out to
Right.
save lives. We're truly
Well,
save lives.
yeah, and the free concept of it really does come from the 12 steps. It does from in-person
Yeah.
meetings, right? However, if you're still contributing just a dollar into the basket, you're still paying. That's a transaction, right? So, is that free? You
Right.
know what I mean? Like,
Right.
is that free? Because they're still collecting dollars at every meeting. Okay. And
Well,
this isn't a bash towards 12 steps or none of that, because that is helpful for some people, but it's not helpful for everybody. And when
right.
I met with a troll living under the bridge on the interwebs, it's like, oh, I remember one time too, I did a post on my book and someone was like, great, somebody selling me another book. It's like, bitch, do you talk this way to like Kristen Hanna? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, do you like, yeah, I wrote this, buy it or not. Nobody's forcing you by looking at
Right.
my content to buy something. It is on you and your fat little fingers to press purchase. So, like,
Right. And as an author, you write a book and then you sell a book. That's what
yeah,
authors do. Okay.
yeah. So,
Yeah.
like, the whole thing of the free stuff, and, like, you create it, like, you and I, we have a nice healthy balance of free and paid stuff, and
Thank
so
you.
it is one of those things that it's like, this whole conversation of, like, sobriety should be freed, and this is where I just want to challenge some people, okay? I'm just gonna say it, because I have been met with people who are like, my sponsor has a bunch of sponsees and doesn't really have that much time for me. And
Yeah.
so I do feel like in that sponsee situation, it is getting a little dicey
Hmm.
because of two, how much a person's going to take on and how much they can handle and not take serious. Not all sponsors take their sponsees seriously, or they just get ditched. And that is easy to do because it is free. And when you
Right.
have somebody paying, it's going to be a totally different situation. I mean, I'm sure I only take on so many one on one clients a month because I'm not
Totally.
trying to overextend myself.
For
Also,
sure.
with the follow up on that of going to like the con artist, it's like there is a bad person in every single industry you can think of on
Mhm.
planet. There are shithead doctors out there. There are horrible doctors out there
And a
that
lot of them.
you're paying thousands of dollars to for
Right.
giving you maybe a breast lift, and then them botching it up, like, right? Like, there is a bad egg in every industry. So, like, that is the whole thing. It's like when you get grouped into somebody who was maybe a con in the sober coaching world, it's like, okay, but that's not me. That's not
For
me, you
sure.
know?
Yeah, I love what you said because here's the other thing. You and I both offer free resources, a lot of
Mhm,
them, this podcast included, right?
mhm,
And
mhm,
so here's a free resource that everyone can listen to right now that we are spending our time on.
mhm,
And anybody is welcome to do that. And we have offers at different income levels or different revenue cycles or
mhm,
different price
mhm,
price points, right? So
mhm,
there is something for everybody. I also have free guides. We're on social media. We're sharing inspo and stories and resources and all these things. So you and I both offer a ton of free stuff that's available for everybody, and it
mhm.
is free. And also to deliver that, like I do a free weekly newsletter to deliver that. Do you know how much time it takes for
Yeah.
me at my
Mhm,
hourly rate to sit down and write that? Do you know how much it costs for my technology and your technology to
mhm,
send and deliver you that newsletter? So even my free resources cost me money. I'm
mhm,
paying to offer those free resources
mhm,
because I've had to pay for my training, I've had to pay for my software, I have to pay for my technology, I have to pay for, right? Like, so those free resources are free to others, but they cost me money to offer. So there's that, right? I'm putting money into this and it's not for everyone, right?
mhm,
But
mhm.
also in my experience, the women that come to me, they've talked it over with a friend before. They've done some of those the friend isn't trained, is not a trained coach. She's a
Mhm,
listening ear and a compassionate companion maybe, but she doesn't know how to hold somebody accountable and walk them through transformation. She doesn't know the questions to ask to get her friend to her own ahas to make a difference. And when you commit a little time and money, you've got some skin in the game. And that
mhm,
starts to make a difference. That's why a lot of free programs people drop off because they don't really care, me
mhm,
included, all of us
mhm,
included, right?
mhm.
And when you pay for something, you're like, I'm gonna show up to that meeting because I paid for that,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
And so
yeah.
you have a little more skin in the game, you have a little more investment, and spiritually, energetically, you're telling the universe that you're taking this seriously,
Mhm,
right? So you're telling the universe you matter and you're worth it and you're willing to invest some time and money for that. And I, like you, take a very limited amount of one-on-one because I want to be the best possible coach.
yeah,
And when my schedule gets too full, I can tell I'm not, right? I
right.
cannot be overwhelmed myself. I can't start mixing up my client stories. Like, that's too many. I don't want that because you have my whole heart and soul versus perhaps a sponsor that has a million and can't get back to any of them, right?
Yeah,
It,
yeah.
it's a different offering too. A sponsor is somebody who's walked through the program and can walk you through steps, but they're not necessarily a trained coach.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And that is, I'm trying to think of what else on the internet that I've heard about coaches before. of
Well, that
just,
everybody is one, and like it's the next thing to do. And here's one that bothers me is like now coaches are coaching coaches. Like now that's the new fun thing.
yeah,
And of course that offends me because I actually do that.
yeah.
But it's also like the hero's journey because anybody who's overcome something wants to turn around and hold out their hand to the next person coming through, right?
Hmm.
So that's what
Hmm.
you and I have done. We have done that as coaches, but then my clients want to become coaches.
Hmm.
And I partner with where I got trained. So I refer them to that. And then they want to start a business and they don't know how. And neither did I. Right. So
Hmm.
I put that information into a digital course for people so they could learn all the things that I had to learn, but they could do it much faster because I had done that. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I don't think there's anything wrong with continuing to support my clients. I don't think
Hmm.
there's anything wrong with sharing my experience. I don't think there's anything wrong with packaging and pricing all of my knowledge and my lesson learned to cut out the noise and give people the guidebook to what they need to do. Like, I think that's the hero's journey. I don't think that's a con artist at all.
Hmm. Hmm. No, no, it's not. But like, if you look at like again, going back to it at the conversation of this should be free, and I believe you touched on it too. Okay, well then going to a therapy session should be free. You shouldn't
Yeah.
have to pay somebody a copay to sit and talk about your mental health issues. Then
And how
these
about
rehab,
rehab?
right?
Yeah.
Then these rehab facilities shouldn't be $30,000 for a month visit. So like and I don't get why those don't. I mean, and the rehab industry is not that one is not a unicorn industry. There is a
Right.
lot of dirtiness in rehabilitation that industry.
Well, and
Um,
if people have to keep coming back, that keeps making money.
right. And but this is the thing. And this is anytime I have a consult with a person, I say to them, I cannot sit there and physically slap Chardonnay out of your
Mhm.
hand. I live
Mhm.
in the suburbs of Detroit, Michigan. I've worked with even a couple ladies. Oh, I've worked with a lady over in Australia. I worked with a lady over in, I think it was Norway. It's like, I cannot sit there and slap. I
Mhm.
cannot physically sit there. So I don't sit here and guarantee you sobriety because you
Mhm.
have to show up and do that for yourself. What I can guarantee you is A, B, C, and D, and helping
Mhm.
you walk through this process and holding you accountable and supporting you along the way of this transformation and building more of the solid foundation for you. So, because if you look at the numbers, it's very slim pickings of rehab. And I've worked
Mhm.
with people straight out of rehab just for extra accountability
Mhm.
because it is so small. The AA percentage is so very small of people who go there end up staying sober for good. It is very
Mhm.
small. So it's just like it's same thing. You're going to go to a therapist. Do you think you're going to get healed from your therapist? When we have therapists in this country,
Mhm.
you're telling them you have a drinking problem and
Right, and there's like,
dismissing
no,
it.
I don't. Right, that's what I paid $300 an hour for.
Right.
For
So then
someone to
go,
tell me I didn't have an alcohol problem when I
yeah,
came in and said I did.
going to a doctor where they're
Right.
writing off like, oh, well, you're not drinking one glass of wine a day is okay. It's like, well, no, doc, if you add that up, that's 7 glasses per week. You know what I mean? And like,
Right, right, and by one drink,
nobody,
I meant one bottle, by the way.
yeah, like nobody's pouring themselves 6 ounces of wine, sir. You know what
Nobody.
I mean? So like
Nope.
it's in a system where it's all dismissed. So like for anybody to be able to do sober coaching, wonderful. If that option, if that fits for you, whether it's somebody who vibes with me or you or another sober coach, great.
Find somebody who has what you want and ask them how they got there.
Mhm.
100%. And the results of our coaching shows our clients are getting and staying sober. So there's no bigger result than that. It's so beautiful. So
Mhm.
it's effective. And I think coaching is for people that want to be the best in their game, the best athletes, leaders, business folks, politicians, like you name the industry, the person that they have a coach. Even the people at the top of their game, they have a coach because you need somebody to tell you what's up. You
Mhm.
need somebody to reflect back to you and to hold your feet to the fire a little bit about keeping your promises and doing what you say. And when you don't, how to show up with compassion and change those patterns and learn and adjust and try again. Plus, like strategies and tools. The other thing is you wouldn't know how to ditch the drink if you've never successfully done it before. Like, why would you think you would know how to do this? Of course you wouldn't. You haven't, or you've tried and you haven't been successful.
Mhm.
So it's okay to get some guidance. It's okay to get some support, and it's okay to pay for that. So, and there's again, all different programs at all different levels. There's something for everyone. And if free is what you want to need, you and I have free stuff. There's a lot of people that have free stuff. Grab it, use it.
Yeah.
Little skin in the game, pay, right?
Yeah.
Pay. And the closer you get to one-on-one with more customized individual support, probably the results you see are going to be expedited even faster. I have people that have been in groups forever, and it's like, do one-on-one because we get to the heart of it, right? And it's you and me, and the focus is on you. So
Right.
you can
Right.
definitely expedite those results with that.
Right. Right. Well, thank you so much for this talk today. Where can people find you at?
Ditchthedrink.com. Ditchthedrink.com everywhere. Of course, free newsletter, free guides, all the good stuff. Ditch the Drink on Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn and Pinterest. And you won't find me on TikTok or any of the cool things. But if you the middle-aged mom things, I'm everywhere as Ditch the Drink. I love connecting with people. I love connecting with you, Courtney. I'm so grateful for the evil Instagram because it has connected us for years. And I'm glad we could finally have this conversation. And you're not a con artist. And I will preach to anyone and everyone about that. I know how helpful you have been to so many, and you've been helpful to me on my journey too. So I thank you very much for that.
Yes, well, same, same. All right, so I'm going to put Heather's information in the show notes below and always slide into her IG DM and say, hello, Heather. Thank you so much for being on. Good people of the world. Thank you for listening. And as always, keep on trucking.
Thank you, Courtney.